Good evening, everyone. This is Professor Hill. This is a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College for the first summer session of 2023. And today is Monday, the 19th of June, 2023. It's a holiday, so the college is closed, but I'm here because, right for it, yes, this is a short 5-week condensed class, so we just got a lot of work to do in a short period of time. Meaning that last night, Sunday night, the essays came in, and I had a chance today to sit and grade them all. And it turns out that on the whole, quite good. Meaning that people were engaged with the case study, meaning they were kind of wrestling with the moral issues. People were pretty good about bringing over the concepts and definitions from the chapter 2, and applying them to the case study involving John the paramedic. There were a couple of little things. So just to be clear, most people got this right. If you didn't, we could sort it out for next time. Like I said, we're still only in we just started week 3. So that's right. So now we're starting week 3. But my point is, the third essay is coming up, and this next Sunday night, a week from now. And here was a couple things. There's still people who are trying to project onto the person in the story, whether it was Jenny Lake a week ago, or whether it was John the paramedic last night. You're still trying to divine or guess what that person's moral thinking was, and then describe it using the concepts from the chapter. We're kind of almost there, because what I want you to do is look at the case study and decide what you think about what they did, whether it was Jenny Lake or John the paramedic. Do you think it was good or bad, right or wrong? And why do you think? What describes your own thing? That's what you have access to. You have access to why you think something was right or wrong. You can then describe it using the concepts from the chapter. So I was still getting lots of people who were like, well, this is what I think John was thinking. And meaning that I think he thought he was doing the right thing, and that reflects, subjective relativism or whatever it was, or moral objectivism. And I was like, okay, I don't know what the basis of that is, because we don't have access to, we have some of what he said and some of what he did, so we can draw some conclusions from that. But we can draw conclusions about what he did and whether he thought it was right or wrong, because he said, I thought it was the right thing to do. But that's a lot harder then to look into the rationale, the reasoning behind that, and say whether, John thought that he was following a moral rule or principle like some kind of objectivist, or whether he would describe his own thinking as being a reflection of his cultural values instilled in him by his family and upbringing. These are very personal and, by definition, kind of hidden from other people, unless you really pin them down and ask them about it and give them the framework, which is what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to tell me what you're thinking. Tell me, does your moral thinking reflect moral objectivism? Or does it reflect, some kind of cultural relativism? So there was that issue. I want to hear what you think about it, not what you think John thought, or, this is what I think Jenny thought. So anyway, we're going to see more of that with the next upcoming case study. But here's the other thing, which is you also have to, and again, I was trying to be relatively generous about the grading, because people were doing what I asked, which was taking the concepts from the chapter and applying it to the case study. So people were doing the right thing. They were wrestling with it. But here's the next step. The next thing we got to get to is we also have to be careful about the terms and the definitions and concepts. The one which was kind of people brought in, but they brought it in because they didn't have a good grasp of it, was emotivism. People just saw the term emotivism, thought emotions, and thought, well, if I'm thinking with my emotions and I'm deciding with my emotions, that means I'm an emotivist. Or more frequently, John, who was really upset, must have made his decision based on his emotions. So that was emotivism. And guys, that is not at all what that means. It turns out that we're looking at the basis, the foundation of why something is right or wrong. And so, like with John, he thought he did the right thing in that situation. I was, by the way, surprised that the class split as much as it did, but we'll come back to that later. But if John said, I did the right thing, that's not an indication of why he thinks that. If we pressed him on it, he might say, oh, well, it was because there was this rule, this moral principle that I believe in, that I learned as a kid, and he violated that moral principle. That's why I think it was the right thing to do. That's an objectivist approach in thinking. If he had said, well, okay, I did the right thing, and I just really saw it as a reflection of my values, the values that were instilled in me by my parents and my religion. These were core values that were inculcated in me and shaped my identity. That's why I think I did the right thing. It's in alignment with that set of cultural values as an American or a Texan or whatever. Okay, those are probably the most common things you might find out there. It would be really rare to find somebody who is a subjective relativist, meaning that as opposed to a cultural relativist where the source and foundation of good and bad, right and wrong is in the culture. The culture shapes our shared belief in what's good and bad, right and wrong. Now you're saying that, no, it's me. And it's not just that I'm somehow selfish or self-centered or egotistical. No, it's that I'm the source of good and bad, right and wrong. Like the king that says what I say is law and what I think is good for everybody. I've never met somebody who was a subjective relativist. Think about that, because they're not just saying I was the decision maker, and so I made a decision based on what I thought, whether that was principles or values. That's different. They're saying the source is me. That's a big statement. So take a look. Look again at that definition. And of course, that's the thing about emotivism. Emotivism, these are people that say there is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. That doesn't even apply. There's no morality at all. John didn't make what he did is not good or bad because there's no good or bad. So why do they call it emotivism? Well, because, people are saying things like John did something good or bad, and they're having this conversation. But since morality doesn't really exist, that just must be people, when they're talking about it, who they're expressing emotions about something. They're describing their emotions about whether something's good or bad. But it's not that they're being driven by their emotions, and their emotions are the source of decision making. That's a different thing altogether. So once again, I've never actually met anybody who was an emotivist, because I don't know anybody that thinks there's no such thing as good and bad, right and wrong. All the people I know and talk to think there are. They might disagree about what's right and wrong. They might disagree about John and what he did. And some say he did right, some days he did wrong. But to say there is no right and wrong, there is no good and bad in the world, that's would at least be very rare to meet that person. So don't be misled by just the name of that and think, oh, this is just about emotions. That's go back and look at that again. That's what that means. Because again, here's the thing: we're moving on. It's a short 5-week class. We're moving on. We're skipping chapter 3, going straight to chapter 4, and we're going to be looking at consequentialism and non-consequentialism. This all gets laid out in the chapter. I'll spend some more time talking about that soon. But look, the good news is it's Monday the 19th. All the essays came in last night, and I've been sitting here all day. It's almost 6 o'clock, and they're all graded. So that's good. If you've got questions about the grade you received or why you received it, let me know. I'm happy to answer questions like that through Canvas, tomorrow, because I'm tired and I'm going home. However, take care of yourselves, take a little break, and then jump into chapter 4. All right. See ya. Bye.